Okay, welcome everyone. Um, my name is Kevin Hurley. Welcome to the Market View commentary that usually happens on Monday evening, but today I'm doing it on Sunday. Short answer is I'm traveling, and that's going to bring me into a little bit about what I wanted to go over with you today. There are actually three main things, but the first thing is I do what I do because I can do it anywhere. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've been asked for my father-in-law, who's going through a pretty major surgery and fighting cancer, much like my father is. Uh, I guess I haven't been asked. I volunteered to help. I volunteered to help to take the evening shifts as he's in the hospital to see what I can do. I will most likely spend time away from my family, my wife and my kids. I'll end up spending time away from them, and I probably might miss my Thanksgiving with my own family. But I do what I do because I can do it anywhere, which really allows me the opportunity to give back. And I tell you, there's a lot in my life that I appreciate, and part of what I appreciate the most is what people have been able to give to me when I've needed help. I think there comes my wife calls it being an old soul. I call it integrity. I call it the people I want to be around with. And I enjoy doing the stock market because it allows me to be able to do it anywhere, which really allows me to give back, to be a person that has the ability to donate to sports teams. I've been with the Boy Scouts for 20 years to try to help our future leaders of our country be the leaders that I would like to see that have integrity and value for what they stand for. Another reason that I do what I do is because I truly enjoy the game. I want to make money. I love the stock market. I love the challenge of making money in the stock market. A lot of people ask me what's challenging. So I could say, so what's challenging to you in the stock market? Which will go hand in hand in the ability. I love the research. I love researching, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a Warren Buffett junkie. I want to find undervalued or underappreciated stocks that have a huge upside opportunity. Right now, if you were to ask me what those are, Disney, Ford, Visa, Under Armour. No questions asked. All of them have ridiculous, huge upside opportunity. Facebook possibly has that upside opportunity. Micron possibly has that upside opportunity. Apple still possibly has that upside opportunity. And one I forgot, I'm sorry, Baidu has some huge upside opportunity. I love the challenge of the market. Now, some things that bother me. I hate cycles that you know should happen, but for some reason are held up. That really just drives me crazy. I feel like we're in those a couple right now for Disney, Visa, and Ford. Some of them seem to be artificially held down, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. I think it bothers me that they're in those positions. Another thing that bothers me, or that I bother worrying about, it bugs me that I don't do a better job of trading tops and bottoms. Now, you always hear you should never try to call a top or a bottom, right? You shouldn't guess and just think you're going to get it. But there's some times I'll call it and I won't put the trade on. That I don't have enough confidence to say, hey, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to agree with it. I believe in it. There are those times that I miss some tops and bottoms. When I think to myself, the woulda, shoulda, couldas, right? The woulda, shoulda, coulda that make you question yourself. That bothers me. It bothers me, and it makes me wonder if there's something that I missed. That's part of the game that maybe I don't like. I worry about clientele perception and some of their ridiculous comments/thoughts. It's not their fault. I'll be honest with you, the market itself is ridiculous, and market perception is extremely hard. But I worry how clientele perceive how easy or hard the market might be. How some clientele believe sometimes they can trade the market as a hobby instead of a job, which is one of the dumbest things in the world to do. And some of the ridiculous comments that aren't meant rude or inconsiderate or even uneducated. It's just been ridiculous because of my 23 some odd years in the market. My experience, to me, holds some weight, or it holds, really it's a thought process. It's a thought process or a past experience that, I guess the best way to say it, sorry about that, I'm making some noise here. One of the best way to say it is that I'm holding some baggage. I'm holding some baggage that isn't fair for clientele to also have to hear from me, because it's not their baggage. But it allows me to be the person I am. By having these things that bother me, I am willing to admit I don't know it all. Now, I know some of you are going to say, oh, but Kevin, sometimes you act like it. And there's some things I'm pretty adamant about. But part of willing to admit I don't know it all, part of my admitting that I'm not going to get it all, part of it is I am collar trading, going longer out in time to give the trade the opportunity to work. I'm dollar cost averaging on leaps, or doing it for free with the collar trade profits on the long puts. It's what I do because I'm going to be willing to admit that no matter how big Hurley Investments gets, even if we hit that 500 million mark, which is kind of my long-term goal, right? Almost a tenth of the way there, right? I still won't have enough money to know it all. I still won't be big enough to be in the loop to to have legal insider trading, right? To know that I could move the market with a $50 million trade. I don't know. Just because I'm willing to admit that I don't know it all, I found a system that can work for anyone to capture a portion of the wave. Which leads me to what I think of this week, right? If you were to ask me, well, Kevin, if you're willing to say you don't admit it all, what do you think this week? I don't know. I could see us offhand really fighting an overbought scenario on the Dow. Indexes don't stay overbought for an extended period of time. I would expect maybe a pull off of that level. I would say the same thing for the S&P. It really doesn't stay overbought for long. Too much of a spread between the 50-day and the 200. It would be a good time for it to work sideways through November for maybe a Christmas rally, to move sideways for, in all honesty, a China agreement. The China agreement is still not priced in. We have too much upside opportunity in the China agreement that you just can't tell me it's priced in. Our market movements are telling me otherwise. The NASDAQ. I just don't see that upside opportunity. So if you were going to ask me how I was going to trade, it really comes back down to preparing for earnings, running, can't spell tonight, running just stock positions, leap long call positions, and looking at individual stock positions. Obviously, like Target. And where I'm going at with that is we're now going to fight the next couple weeks of stores. Home Depot, Kohl's, TJ Maxx, Urban Outfitters, Lowe's, Target, LB Brands, Nettie's out there. Macy's, which hasn't done well, Gap, Intuit, Nordstrom's, Ross, Foot Locker. A lot of stores, retail stores, are going to come up, and they really should, for all intents and purposes, do good. But I'm not sure they have enough to move the market. Thursday's our big economic reports week. Building permits and housing starts will not have too much importance as it's a seasonal downturn. But the Philly Fed, existing home sales, leading indicators will be important. Michigan sentiment, there's really not a lot that's going on, but there is something I forgot to mention. There it is. The big mover on this week will most likely be FOMC minutes. Trying to find out if they're clues to a December rate cut or if the Fed is really going to hold off and just let things go for a Christmas rally, for a trade agreement being signed. I would suspect we might have some hawkish comments that they're going to stand pat for a while, and we might not get that December cut that some people are still expecting, in which case you might see some panic on Wednesday. All right, what else do I have for you for this week? China is building up its shadow reserves to counter its U.S. reliance on the U.S. dollar. Do take some time. I do believe most big movements in our market are signaled through currency. It's pretty interesting. A very interesting article if you believe the currency has any play in the stock market, or that you can get currency moves that'll give you a heads up, or flag big drops in stock markets. A very interesting article if you're a currency, forex, or a numbers guy. All of this makes ridiculous sense. NVIDIA guidance misses expectations, beat top and bottom line, but their guidance is falling, as well as revenue fell from 5% from last year. Hence, you might see a pretty big drop in NVIDIA based on how far it's already moved this year. I found a very interesting article. Fear of missing out on the rally replaces the worry of the stock market. People don't want to miss portfolio managers trying to juice their returns at the end of the year. A big rush of investors to take on a little more risk, but you know where I'm not seeing it right now is in the big institutionals. It's like they pre-bought what they think is going to move, which is interesting because I'm really bothered by, in all honesty, Disney, Visa, and Ford. Disney, Visa, and Ford. I'm shocked that those ones haven't moved significantly higher. With great earnings, good guidance, I'm trying to figure out what triggers are holding those back and how those triggers will be released to see the movement I would expect in those stock positions. But a very interesting article on, obviously, the fear of missing out on the rally. There are some numbers here that I haven't quite gone through, but I agreed with the assessment. It pretty much makes sense. Again, biggest 20 risks of the financial markets in 2020. They're all listed here for you to start to pay attention to. Just some things you want to go over to see if you start to, I guess, to be familiar with, so that if you see this on the news, you can start to check some of these off and be ready for really what could be a pretty big drop in our stock markets, because we haven't paid the piper for our 2008. The world's largest trade deal could be signed in 2020, isn't it? The U.S. It really goes back down to the Asian Pacific Pact. And again, pretty interesting by the numbers that they're coming up with. It makes me wonder a little bit, but if the numbers are close to where they're at, I would like to see individual trade agreements done by Trump for some of these countries. India obviously is backed out, which significantly hurts the importance of the Asian Pacific Agreement. Obviously, we've backed out, but you just have to believe if those economies open up a free trade pact, you'll see a significant amount of trade that will exclude some of the U.S. technologies. And I obviously don't want to say it's in no way would be catastrophic for the U.S., but we'd be missing out on a significantly large opportunity that, again, I would like to see Trump work with more of these type of countries. I know we have an agreement signed by Japan now. We're hopefully going to have one with China. We have good working relationships with Cambodia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Singapore, South Korea. I'm not sure where we're at with Australia and New Zealand, to be honest with you. But there's some opportunities here that I'd hate to see the U.S. miss. Guys, for this week, I'm looking at a pretty slow week. There's not a lot that stands out that's going to move us. In fact, if anything, we'll probably move on headlines by way of some type of China agreement or fear of the Fed minutes that we're not going to get that last rate cut that we're expecting in December. With that said, I would probably weather out the storm because I do think we'll get our China agreement. I do think we'll have a Christmas rally. So I'm going to do, again, hard thing to do, sit on my hands for a little bit. Unless I get a technical indicator, we break some support levels. I'm going to be caught in that sideways movement for just a bit to not overreact. With that said, guys, I appreciate you allowing me to record this tonight. I will get this out and emailed to everyone who signs up for the classes. Good luck this week. I look forward to talking to you Tuesday evening on the trade finds and adjustments, or Keith might fill in for me depending on how I'll be needed to help my father-in-law. Guys, have a wonderful week. Pleasure meeting with you and talking to you today. Look forward to meeting and talking to you next week. Until then, have a good week.